there, my name is Karen. Welcome to Karen Talks Nonsense, and today we'll be doing a little Boulder Dash on books with the 2003 Big British Read, where a bunch of people in Britain, it's the largest survey that has ever happened, were asked, what is your favorite novel? And they answered, and they made a list of 100 books, which are the 100 most popular books, most favorite novels from 2003 Britain. And I think this is fascinating, partially as a little to-do list for me of how many have you read? And then also in kind of this, what were reading habits like in 2003? Because 2003, 22 years ago, may I remind you, was a very different time. I was 10. I was 10 in 2003, so my reading habits were quite a bit different then. Though actually, I think some of the books that are on this list were in fact some of my favorite books. We're going to be starting with number 100 and working our way up. If I haven't read it, I will let you know. If I haven't heard of it, I will let you know. There are a few of those on this list. And let's just parse out whether this is an actual favorite novel that I think someone would still have today, whether it is a novel that is from 2003, and that's why it's on this list. Why would this be anyone's favorite novel? That's the other category. Why would this be anyone's favorite novel? We're going to be ranking these on kind of that S to F tier situation that everyone on YouTube is so fond of. And we will be, a lot of these, the ones I've read anyway, they're good books. So this isn't going to probably be a very controversial ranking, except for a few books that I have an unfair bias against because they're horrible, which there are some of them that are like that. Anyway, let's get going with number 100, a book I have never heard of called Midnight's Children by Rushdie. So I have no ranking for it. I have no thoughts on it. I don't know anything about this book. But number 99, the first book I can rank because I read it, is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, which is a book series that I definitely read in the early 2000s. They were first published in 2000. The Anne Hathaway movie that you're probably very familiar with came out in 2001, which now that I think about it is a really fast turnaround. And yeah, I remember really liking those books as a kid. The grandmother is very different than Julie Andrews. And I also remember in high school, there was a winter formal, and one of my friends did get asked to winter formal with a pizza with M&Ms on it. So that's a core aspect of my prom asking expectations. Since we are judging The Princess Diaries against other books, it is probably unfair to be like, this is an A or an S because it's a good book, but it's not the same thing as Dickens. So B for The Princess Diaries, and I think that's very fair. And also it is a very 2003 pick because why wouldn't it be? There were kids who voted in this, and sometimes it's very clear that their picks were the ones that came out. Number 98, Girls in Love, I've never heard of, but number 97, Love in the Time of Cholera, I have certainly heard of and read, and I do like this book. I don't think it's as good as 100 Years of Solitude, so B. And then number 96, Cain and Abel, never heard of it. Number 95, Catherine, never heard of it. Number 94, The Alchemist, I have heard of, I have read. It is a 2003 pick, if I ever heard of one. I know some people really love The Alchemist. I am neutral on The Alchemist, and it is a B to me. It's fine. I don't want to spoil it because I could, but the ending's kind of trite and a little disappointing to me, and it's so cliche. So The Alchemist is good. It's about a man trying to find his treasure. It's what it is. Anyway, so The Alchemist is number 94. Number 93, The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett is a horrible book, and I hate it. I have it. Here it is. Color of Magic. This is a not good book, and I don't like it. It's clearly one of the first in Discworld. If you're going to read Discworld, this isn't where to start. This isn't where you should approach Discworld. You should just say, it's okay that I'm not a completionist. I don't have to read The Color of Magic. I would skip all of the Wizards of Discworld because I don't like them. But you might be different than I am, and you might like them. I don't think you'll like this, though, or The Light Fantastic. So F. And this shouldn't be anyone's favorite book. I don't know why it is. Also, when was this published? This was published in 1983, so 20 years. So for 20 years, this has been someone's favorite book. Next, number 92, The Clan of the Cave Bear, I have never heard of. Number 91, The Godfather, I have heard of. I have not read. I have watched the movies. Is it worth reading? People who have read this book, let me know. Is it worth reading? Number 90, On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Where are you on the road, Jack Kerouac? Where do you belong? Some people really love On the Road. I am not one of them. This is a book that I do understand why it is someone's favorite. It is not my favorite. We will leave it at that. Number 89, Magicians, I have never heard of. Number 88, Cold Comfort Farm, I've never heard of. Number 87, Brave New World. If I had to pick a favorite dystopian, overreaching government thing to love, Brave New World is actually my favorite. I really like The Hunger Games too, especially as a retrospective, but I think the problem with Hunger Games is that I don't actually think that parents would let their children go fight in a battle royale situation every year. I think that the rebellion would have happened much sooner, which is my only real critique of The Hunger Games. I think The Hunger Games are very good and very nuanced. With 1989, I will get to that, but with Brave New World, commercialism and the way that that's represented, I think that makes so much more sense. I think everything about Brave New World makes so much sense as far as how I could picture a dystopia happening. So this is my favorite dystopian novel. It is an S. 86, Vicky Angel, never heard of. 85 is The God of Small Things. The God of Small Things is a weird book. And to The God of Small Things, I say, is this anyone's favorite book, actually? Because it shouldn't be. This book is so weird. It involves abuse and twins being weird and there's this one scene in it. I think this ruined the whole book for me that takes place at a movie theater, and I could never get past it. And it's written in that voice of some depressed woman, and I know why she's depressed. I get it. I get the book. I just have a hard time reading in that voice and feeling particularly compelled by it. So The God of Small Things probably makes the most sense as a C book for me. I know some people really like it. I think I read this one on recommendation in a Vlogbrothers video where they were like, this book is great. And I read it and I was like, oh, is it? 84, Garmergast. Don't know what that is. Couldn't tell you. Holes. 83. Okay, Holes. Holes is great. So is Holes, which I consider to be an S-tier children's book, also just an S-tier book? Yes. Yes, Holes is an S-tier book. I'm looking forward to reading that again with my child. It is an S-tier book. Some children's books you don't really want to revisit as an adult, and I think that is part of what makes an S classic novel. It's, are you willing to revisit it a ton of times? I am willing to revisit this a bunch of times. I Capture the Castle, I have never heard of. That's 82. 81 is The Twits by Roald Dahl. This one is going to fall into a category for me of, why is this anyone's favorite book? Because it's a weird book. I mean, Roald Dahl books are kind of weird to begin with, but this is an especially weird one. It's very short. I don't know if I care to ever revisit The Twits, particularly. There's one line from it, though, about how even if there was one woman who was very kind and she wasn't good looking, but because she was so kind and that outward kindness showed in her face, that she was actually quite beautiful. And I've always liked that sentiment, that the way that you are on the inside, your kindness over time makes you a joy for people to be around. I have found that true in my life, that I love being around people who are kind and they do have an inner glow about them no matter what. So in that way, I do think it's got one astute statement in it that I love. Does that move it from a C to a B? I don't think it does. Double Act, 80. There's this woman, Jacqueline Wilson, who has a bunch of books on this list that I assume are just girl British novels that people really cared about in 2003, because I've never heard of them, but the covers are kind of girly. So I have no way to rank this. Should I read this? Should I be reading these Jacqueline Wilson books? 79, Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I've not read this. This is one of those, this is embarrassing for me to tell you that I have not read it. I need to read it. It's on my list. I'm going to try and get it done 2025. I'm going to try and read a lot of Dickens 2025. That's my New Year's resolution. Is that allowed to be a New Year's resolution? Read more Charles Dickens? It is for me. Bleak House, not rankable. Ulysses by James Joyce. Considered by many to be one of the greatest novels of all time. So the thing I remember most distinctly from Ulysses is that monologue, which is very famous and is used in a bunch of standardized tests as an example of what it is, which is stream of conscious monologuing. I don't love Ulysses. I don't consider it the best novel I've ever read. So it's a B for me. That's a controversial statement, I think. Anyways, The Woman in White, I have never heard of. That's 77. 76, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. If your favorite novel is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, you need help. I think this is now a TikTok book too. I like that book. I like The Goldfinch more, which was not published and therefore cannot be on this list in 2003. Donna Tartt books, I do understand why they're people's favorite books. Bridget Jones' Diary, I have not read. I've seen the movie and I enjoy it quite a bit. It does fall into that 2000s trope of like a woman who is not fat being called fat all the time. Insert clips here.
The chubby girl.
Would we call her chubby?
I think there's a pretty sizable ass there, yes, sir.
I like Bridget Jones' Diary as a movie. I guess I should read the book at some point. And then Matilda by Roald Dahl, which is an S-tier children's book if I have ever seen one. It is my favorite Roald Dahl book. I will gladly die for Miss Honey in any way that she would like. I've already read this to my daughter. We had a good time. And the Trunchbull, was there ever a better childhood villain than Mrs. Trunchbull? Miss Trunchbull. 73, Night Watch, Terry Pratchett. Haven't read that one. I don't think I've even heard of that one. I assume it's in the Guards series though. 72, The Ragged Troussard Philanthropist. Haven't read of, haven't heard of. Perfume, haven't heard of, haven't read of. Number 70, Lord of the Flies. Have heard of, have read, have thoughts on. Let's go. Lord of the Flies. You are a good book. You are weird. You are important for cultural collateral. Anyone whose favorite book is Lord of the Flies, much like Donna Tartt, probably is having a problem. A. Maybe. Yes, A. We're going to give it an A. Guards, Terry Pratchett. I like Guards more than I like The Color Magic, obviously. It is not my favorite series. For me, that's a B. I like Guards, and I like Terry Pratchett. There are other Terry Pratchett novels I like a lot more. It's a B. That's not, I'm not a Guards person, because if you don't know, the way Discworld is broken up, there are like different series, and he just kind of publishes whatever he feels like writing. So I really jive with the witches books and the books about death. And those are the ones I like. There's some standalones I really like. From his early work, I actually really like Pyramids. Small Gods is really good. And so is Going Postal for the standalones if you're looking for Discworld recommendations. But if you know Discworld, you probably don't need Discworld recommendations. Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett was really having a moment in 2003, wasn't he? I like Good Omens a lot. I might like season 1 of the show more than I like the book. I like the book and season 1 more than I like season 2. We'll see about season 3. I'm actually really looking forward to that. Good Omens is an A. Good Omens is an A. Number 67, The Magus. Haven't read it. Then The Magic Faraway Tree. That looked like it was a children's book, so I'm guessing that is a children's book of British times. And number 65, Mort, which I do like Mort a lot. So where are you, Mort? Do you remember those scams on Facebook where it was like, or send a book to this address and then I will send your address to a bunch of people and in the end you will get $10 and it's like a pyramid scheme but for mailing books to each other? I don't know if anyone else remembers this very specific weird thing that we all did on the internet and Facebook. I don't know, when was this, like 2012? But I participated and I sent someone the book Mort, so I don't own it anymore. What I got in return was a romance novel and a Stephen King book, neither of which I read. So not a fair trade because I love Mort. Mort's an A. It's the beginning of the Death series. It's early Pratchett, so sometimes it's a little difficult to read. But then once you hit Reaper Man, you're in for it, because Reaper Man's great. Mort, though, is a great start to the Death series. Highly recommend it. The Thorn Birds, I've never read it. Tale of Two Cities is a book I should have read and goes into my you need to read this, Karen list. I've partly read it, but I have not read it well enough to rank it. It's on my list. Number 62, Memoirs of a Geisha, which is a 2003 cut for sure. I loved Memoirs of a Geisha when it came out, and I definitely read it, and I definitely saw the movie in theaters. It is not accurate at all to what it is like to be a geisha in Japan, and the woman who gave interviews, I think, was really unhappy with how that all got represented, especially the, I think it was called a Mizuwagi. It's like this virginity losing ceremony that did not happen. So this is not historically accurate in any way, but the writing is so good and the voice of the woman is so good. I kind of have to give it an A because I love it. But please know that there are problems with Memoirs of a Geisha, and it is also a very much 2003 cut. Nougat and Crosses, I have not heard of. 60, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. I have read it. This is my least favorite of the 1860s period of publishing in Russia. I don't jive with Dostoevsky very well. I prefer The Idiot. If this is your favorite Russian literature novel, then that's fine. It can be yours. It's not mine. It's a B for me. Artemis Fowl. This is a cut from 2003. Artemis Fowl is number 59 on our list. This is a weird children's book series that I remember loving. I remember getting it at the Scholastic Book Fair. I don't know if this holds up. I haven't read this, I think, since I was in 5th grade. So it's probably a B because I don't really remember the plot. He's a villain. And they had cool covers. Black Beauty, number 58, is something I've partly read but never finished. I think Black Beauty is one that I read, in one of those great illustrated classics, if you remember those. 57, Swallows and Amazons. I have not read it. I haven't heard of it. Number 56, The BFG. I have heard it. I have read it. It is a B. It is a kind of weird one, to tell you the truth, that BFG. He eats those weird giant pickles and he gets lunch from the queen. And Sophie is a Banff and I love her. So points for Sophie. Roald Dahl books are so weird. Why is this anyone's favorite book? I'm not sure. It's not the best one. I mean, it's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's Matilda. It's what are acceptable. The Witches. The Witches should be on this list. That one is one of my favorites. But it's not. The BFG is. Number 55, A Suitable Boy. Never heard of it. Number 54, Anna Karenina. I have heard of it. Oh, Anna. I've ranted a couple of times now on this channel about Anna Karenina. I don't care for her at all. I don't care about her love story with Vronsky. Whatever. Go have your affair and then die in front of a train. It's fine. Other people may find it romantic. I do not, because she basically abandons her kid and doesn't care about that. She'd just rather go have an affair. I guess it irks me as a parent that she would be more interested in an affair than the well-being of her son. Okay, The Stand by Stephen King. I've read one Stephen King book in my life, and it is Salem's Lot. I am a scaredy cat. I guess I should read Stephen King. There's a lot I should read, though, as this list is probably making apparent. Where should I start with Stephen King? I've gotten recommendations before, and I've never been sure. I don't really like being scared, though. Of Mice and Men, number 52 by Steinbeck. Who doesn't love Of Mice and Men? Full disclosure, as somebody who was in the Central Valley of California for middle school and high school, I read a lot of Steinbeck, and I have pretty firm feelings about him. I actually like Of Mice and Men the most of any Steinbeck. We'll get to that. I think that one's pretty good. I think it's short. It's worth the read. Lenny and George are compelling. The ending is compelling, and it is referenced so often. It's totally worth reading just for the cultural collateral.
Don't let the friend watch, but he don't move no more.
So, A. It's the best Steinbeck's going to give you. The Secret Garden is number 51. How do I feel about The Secret Garden? It's a B, I would say. I don't remember the plot of The Secret Garden particularly well, which is probably an indicator that It's fine. The Shell Seekers, I have not read, and I've also never heard of it. Goodnight, Mr. Tom, I have not read, and I've never heard of it. Far from the Maddening Crowd, I have not read. A Christmas Carol by Dickens, I have performed in the theater. I was Mrs. Cratchit and I was Belle in 2 different productions in high school of A Christmas Carol. So I feel so passionate about it. Just kidding, it's an A. There are, in fact, adaptations of A Christmas Carol that I love more than the book. Whenever I've read it, I've been like, oh yeah, it's A Christmas Carol, hooray. But really, A Muppet's Christmas Carol is so good, y'all. So you should read A Christmas Carol, but then you should go watch A Muppet's Christmas Carol. To which I say, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. 46 is Animal Farm, which is my favorite George Orwell novel. So that is an A for me. My favorite character in Animal Farm is Boxer, as it should be everybody's. And the commentary on why communism sucks and will always suck is great. And I think it's pretty apt that some people will work hard and will be true communists, and Boxer is the good communist. And then there are the people who are going to take advantage of the good communist and their work. And that would be the pigs, and that would be Marx, and that would be every other communist, really. Communism doesn't work, it's a bad idea. 45, Bride Shed Revisited, never heard of it. Number 44, The Count of Monte Cristo. I've read part of it, I didn't make it through. It's Dumas. I never finished it. I've watched the movie. The movie was good. The Great Gatsby, number 43. Everyone's read The Great Gatsby, right? At least if they're in American-style schools. The Great Gatsby is an A, because it has to be. Is the imagery a little over the head? Yes. Do you get tired of the green light stuff? Yes. Is Nick a great narrator? Maybe. He doesn't pronounce judgments till the end. I think that's important. Watership Down, I have heard of and not read. It's one on my list that I should read. Anne of Green Gables is lovely, and I love it so much. If there's one place on this earth I would like to go, it is Prince Edward Island because of Anne of Green Gables. It is an S for me. It is top tier children's literature. Anne is so annoying at first that you want to kill her, but once you get past a couple chapters, she is much less annoying and 100% worth everything, and I will die on that hill forever. I love Anne of Green Gables. It's probably a girl book. I don't know, maybe a boy likes Anne of Green Gables. Number 40, Emma. You don't rank Emma a B. Emma is an A. It is a good Austen novel. I do like it quite a lot. I do like Emma. She is not my favorite heroine, but she is really good. Do I have more to say about Emma? I should make a whole video about Emma, probably. I do love Mr. Knightley. I don't want to go too much further into Emma, though, because I think that's a whole video. I want to do all of the Jane Austen novels eventually. Right now, I've only done Northanger Abbey. If I had to rank Jane Austen novels, how would I do it? Pride and Prejudice is obviously number 1. Persuasion, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, Emma, Sense and Sensibility. Oh, that's not a good ranking. I don't know. A Town Like Alice, number 37. I've never heard of. I assume that is a 2003 cut. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I have partially read but never made it all the way through on. Do love me some Muppets Treasure Island and Treasure Planet. And then we have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. That is an A. Where are you? There you are. Roald Dahl. A. I skipped some people. Whoops. Dune, number 39. Dune. Dune is weird. Boy howdy is Dune weird. I have read the first 3 of the Dune series, and I know what happens in the 4th one, and I just don't know if I am strong enough to read that. The worm thing really grosses me out. So Dune itself, all by itself, is really good. It is an A. I like Dune Messiah in a way more because I love the commentary on what happens when the person who is supposed to be the savior doesn't do what you want them to do, because there's no such thing as an enlightened despot. And then Children of Dune, or whatever it's called, the 3rd one, is also really good, but then it ends in a way I don't like. But I guess had to happen in Frank Herbert's mind. I don't know. I don't want to spoil Dune. It's so weird, guys. Dune is so weird. It is good. Persuasion. I love Persuasion. Persuasion for me is an S. Hi, Persuasion. Get up there. Number 37, A Town Like Alice. 36, Treasure Island. 35, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which we have all covered. And then David Copperfield. Number 34, a Charles Dickens novel that I have not read, and I need to. Pillars of the Earth. This is a 2003 cut, 100% certain. Where are you, Pillars of the Earth? Can I find you? There it is, Ken Follett. Ken Follett novels are weird in general. He always has these big busted heroines who are good, and then these kind of dumb but morally upstanding, but they're really good at whatever their architecture thing is, heroes. And then their villains are just always villains who are looking to rape. And it feels like man romance novel almost, or man adventure novel. It is not of high quality substance, those Ken Follett novels. I have read all of them. I have not read all of them. I've read a lot of them. I've read like 8, I think, Ken Follett novels. So don't think that I'm under any pretense that I'm too good for Ken Follett. I'm not, but it's a C for me. 100 Years of Solitude by Marquez. This is the author of Love in the Time of Cholera. I love 100 Years of Solitude. There's going to be an adaptation of that soon. I am really looking forward to it. Am I wrong to be optimistic? Maybe. This should be someone's favorite book. It is weird. So see, weird. I'm still okay with weird. Dune and Pillars of the Earth are weird. And so is 100 Years of Solitude. I don't know how to explain it other than it is a town that is isolated, and it takes place over 100 years and generations of a family that all have similar names and can get a little bit of confusion in that. And the women are the best characters and the men are not great. The Story of Tracy Barker by Jacqueline Wilson, I have not read. This is another one of those girl teenage novels. Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, I have read. And I think Disney did it better. So it is a B for me. It was clearly written on a lot of LSD. And then The Grapes of Wrath, number 29. So this is Steinbeck, and I hate it. I hate this so much. I hate The Grapes of Wrath. It's one of the worst books I've ever read. But it had impact and stuff. It's important from a Dust Bowl, California perspective. It ends with adult breastfeeding. Can I hate The Grapes of Wrath all the way to an F, though? Because it does get points for cultural impact and importance. It's D. Prayer for Owen Meany, I have not read and never heard of. Middlemarch by Eliot, I have not read and have heard of. Tess of de Ubervilles, I've heard of. I've read partially. I have not finished. It's on my list. The Hobbit by Tolkien. I love The Hobbit. Where are you, Hobbit? There you are. The Hobbit was a book that my dad read to me when I was a little girl, and I loved it so much. And the best part about The Hobbit is it's structured like it's being read to a child, one chapter a night. It is perfect for kind of like these episodic little adventures with Bilbo and the dwarves. And I remember after we finished, I really wanted to watch the like cartoon version of The Hobbit, because obviously the Peter Jackson version didn't exist yet, which also was not very good. But the cartoon version, and I was going to rent it from the library because Blockbuster did not have this. I went every day and bothered that librarian and said, "Is it in yet?" And she's like, "We will contact you when the hold is in." And I bothered her every day. And eventually it was in, and she called and she knew how excited I was for it. And I watched it, and it was not as good as the book, but The Hobbit lives forever in my head. I love it deeply. And then number 24, The Prisoner of Azkaban. As we will get to later, I think that the Harry Potter series, if it had been combined, would be number 1 on this list. But they didn't. They separated out the books. So Lord of the Rings, for example, is one thing. So all 3 of the Lord of the Rings are considered one pick, whereas Harry Potter, and I think in 2003, only 4 were published. Maybe the 5th one was. I don't know. I don't think so. When was that? When were you published, 5th Harry Potter book? You were $30? Man, that's a lot in 2003 money. 2003. So this was just published in 2003. So I guess it wasn't on the list yet. But anyway, Harry Potter was not allowed to be all one thing, because if Harry Potter had, I pretty much think it would be number 1 on this list. Harry Potter is an S, and there's no getting around that. It is the formation of many a childhood. So Prisoner of Azkaban is an S. Chamber of Secrets, I will give an A, because though I love it, I don't think in the realm of Harry Potter it's as good as Prisoner of Azkaban. And then Sorcerer's Stones. These really were all stacked together, weren't they? 22. I think Sorcerer's Stones is also an A. I am reading it right now to my daughter. We have the illustrated version, so that's pretty exciting. And it still holds up really well. It's a great children's novel. Oh, is this fair? I'm like saying Holes and Matilda and Anne of Green Gables are all S's. Is Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets as good? You know what? Sorcerer's Stones is. That's going to be an S. We're going to give it the S it deserves. Oh, I ranked it as an S on my spreadsheet. I was just being harsh for no reason. Number 21, Gone with the Wind. I read Gone with the Wind while I was visiting my grandparents. It was on my grandmother's bookshelf, and I read it in one day. I am passionate about Gone with the Wind and how much Scarlett sucks and Rhett sucks. Melanie's the only good character in that entire novel, which is the point. I think it's an S-tier novel. I think you should read Gone with the Wind. I think everyone should read Gone with the Wind. And then they should go watch the movie with Clark Gable. War and Peace, that's next, number 20. Why is War and Peace your favorite novel? Is it just so you can tell people that War and Peace is your favorite novel? It's an A. I think you should read it. It might take you 6 months to read it, especially once Pierre starts wandering around the Battle of Borodino. If you would like to see me rant about War and Peace, I've made that video. It is my first video. I don't know if it's any good anymore because I'm never going to watch it again. Out of sheer mortification. But if you'd like to, you may. But War and Peace, it's good. I liked it. It's kind of something that once you've read it, you kind of enjoy it. And maybe that's why it's on this list, because a lot of people wanted to say, War and Peace, it's my favorite novel. And that's my theory on how that happened. Next, Captain Collins' Mandolin, I have not read. And then Little Women, I have partly read, so I can't rank it. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, I have read, and that's an S. I love Great Expectations. Is it about a boy who gets treated horribly by a girl and then spends his entire life obsessing over her? Yes. Is it more than that? Yes. Is it a contemplation of what masculinity means and the difference of being a gentleman versus being a real man? Is Jo one of the best literary characters that ever existed? Is Miss Havisham crazy and a great villain, but I love her? So Great Expectations, I love. And it's an S for me. It is one of the best novels I've ever read. The Wind in the Willows, I have read pretty recently too. I read that to my daughter and my son. My son didn't hold on quite as well. He is 4. That is an A. I think it's very good. I think that as an adult, you might appreciate it more than a child appreciates it. So I don't know if that gives it points or takes it away. The Catcher in the Rye, number 15 by J.D. Salinger. That is a B for me. It's weird. It's teenagery. If you're a teenager, read The Catcher in the Rye. If you're an adult, I don't think you'll like it the same way. Rebecca, I have not read. I partly read it, so we're not ranking it. Birdsong, I own and I mean to read, but I have not read it yet. I think I've read everything else on this list. Wuthering Heights. Where are you, Wuthering Heights? There you are. You're a C. Catherine and Heathcliff are two of the most unbearable people to me. The writing style of it's this housekeeper, I think, who is telling the story to this random traveler is not good. The bones of a good story are there, and about how love can destroy us and love and hate mixed together. And the line about like whatever his soul is made of and my soul is made of, they're made of the same stuff that Catherine says about Heathcliff. That's all great. Catch-22 by Heller, I love. It is one of the funniest novels I've ever read. It is an A. Catch-22 is an A. It's about a pilot having to fly really dangerous missions and slowly go insane while doing so. If you've watched Masters of the Air, then you can kind of see why they would go insane up there. That's on Apple TV and is a really good watch. Next, Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte. There you are. It's an A. I like Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is complicated, isn't it? I like that it gives her power at the end. I like the ending, even with the magic sight returning stuff. The dressing up as a gypsy to get Jane to confess her feelings to him is a bit weird. But should you read Jane Eyre? You should. It's good gothic fun. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis is an S, as are all Narnia books. I love Narnia. Do I think the allegory is a little heavy-handed? Perhaps. Does that bother me? No. I enjoy a heavy-handed allegory sometimes. 1984 is an A. I don't have strong feelings about it, really. The rat scene, ugh, that actually is like almost the best part. I don't know if I buy Big Brother is watching as how dystopia happens. Do I think that the control of the mind and the flow of information is a really interesting thing to parse and that George Orwell would have a lot to say about our current media states? Yeah, George Orwell has some good stuff. I like Animal Farm more. Moving on. With Winnie the Pooh, I have read The House at Pooh Corner. I think I've read everything that is in Winnie the Pooh. I have the complete works. So it's an A for me. A little hard to follow, but they're kind of like rambling children's stories. So that's sort of the point. To Kill a Mockingbird is an S. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. I had a horse named Scout as a kid, or more accurately, my grandparents had a horse named Scout when I was a kid. That's all I thought when I read To Kill a Mockingbird, just kidding. And do you know what? I think if you read To Kill a Mockingbird as a younger teenager and then read Go Set a Watchman later, it is really impactful. I think I read it perfectly because I completely understood To Go Set a Watchman as this like disillusionment of your father who you thought was great. There is something there about Atticus Finch who Scout perceives as this like really outstanding and wonderful person, which in To Kill a Mockingbird he is shown to be, and then he's flawed in To Go Set a Watchman. And I think that's really interesting. Do I think the circumstances of Harper Lee publishing To Go Set a Watchman maybe were a little bit not great? Yeah. I do think that. I don't think she ever meant for that to get published. I think she was taken advantage of as she got older. The Goblet of Fire is next. S tier, obviously. And in case you're curious, The Order of the Phoenix is an A. The Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows are both S's. Loved Harry Potter growing up. I went to all the midnight premieres. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Some people really like this book, and I found it hard to read. I found the movie hard to watch too, so I think this might be an example of something that's just not really for me. It does feel very 2003 though for it to be on this list so high. I think it should probably be on the list of 100 favorite novels. I think it probably belongs more like in the 60s. Dark Materials, this is a 2003 pick for being so high on this list. And also, if it was broken up, I don't think it would be as high as it is. I found out about the Dark Materials by listening to the Amber Spyglass on tape with my parents on a road trip across the country. We did not read The Golden Compass or The Subtle Knife first. We just got thrown into the Amber Spyglass. And what a strange book to listen together. I was 9 years old. We were moving to California. Pride and Prejudice is S. It will always be S. I love Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet is who I aspired to be when I was 15 years old. Probably didn't achieve full Elizabeth Bennet status, but here we are. And then finally, number 1, you were probably expecting it, right? Because I keep going down here. It's Lord of the Rings. Now, I'm going to confess something to you, and you can't yell at me in the comments, okay? I've only read the first Lord of the Rings. And I give that book an A. I can't really rank Two Towers or Return of the King. I've watched the extended editions, though, of Peter Jackson's stuff. I know it's good, okay? I know the plot. I love it. I love Lord of the Rings. I'll watch the extended editions any day. I just have not made time to read The Two Towers or Return of the King, frankly. I'll get there, maybe. I've read most of the Silmarillion, if that makes you feel better. I think that today, since we're wrapping up this listicle real quick, I think today people would still have Lord of the Rings at number 1. I think Harry Potter as a series might compete with Lord of the Rings for number 1. Though it's been a little bit, so maybe less so now. Who else is in our top 10? Since I have that pulled up. So I think Pride and Prejudice would still be in the top 10. I don't think his Dark Materials would be. I don't think Hitchhikers would be. To Kill a Mockingbird should be. Winnie the Pooh probably shouldn't be in the top 10, though it's good. It's fine. 1984 probably would still be up there, though I think Brave New World should be higher. Anything Narnia should still be high. Jane Eyre should be high. That is the reading habits of 2003 Britain. Drop me a comment with maybe what you would have answered this poll with. I've been trying to think what I would answer with, and I don't think I have a good answer. If I was picking a standalone novel, I would probably pick Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I love this novel. I've read it probably about 20 times. For a series, I actually really like the Scholomance series that she did also. Who else would be my favorite novel? Would it be Pride and Prejudice? I don't know. Would it be the Harry Potter series? Maybe. It's so formative to me. Like, those were the first books that made me love reading. My dad read me The Sorcerer's Stone, and like, it changed. That was the moment I found out I really loved to read, because he made me read the 4th one to myself. He read me the first 3 though, and they mattered so much. But anyways, that's the list. Yes, it is both very 2003, but also I think it is a really good assessment of what good novels are. And I'd be really curious to see what would be on the list today. Probably some young adult stuff. When I think about Book Talk books and go to my local Books A Million and see what's in there, I wonder how many of those would be on people's best novels that they ever read. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel for more book and, if you want to look, history content. And I will see y'all next time for what? I don't know. I haven't planned that far ahead. We're not doing another history one though until the start of the year. See you next time. Bye.